decided to do things a little bit differently this time. With this panel, for the front plates, instead of tracing out individual pieces on a very shifting and difficult to work with material, I double layered it, folded it over, and drew it out once, pinned the two layers together, and I'm going to just cut it all out at once. A combination of lazy and impatient at the same time. Could be frustrating, but it could also actually, be useful. So let's do that. Then I'll cut rough plates of the lace and layer them together. Well, pin and layer them together and then serge them. That'll be all 8 pieces of shell. Let's start, let's see what happens. Seems to be working. Yeah, so flat. This can go, and this can go away. You get the distinct impression that this seems to have worked. Yep, it worked. Wash that chalk off there eventually, but it'll brush off on its own, I think. Let's get some lace layered over top of these and then trim it out. Important thing with this is to have the underlayer of fabric not shifted in any odd positions and the overlayer not stretched. So it's just laying everything as gently as possible right now. keeping it as flat as possible right now until it's pinned in place and I can run it under the serger. Yeah. Okay. I'll show you when it's done. So here's these last two panels I gotta make. As I said, you put the lace on excess. You don't even roughly cut it to shape. Just throw it over top, pin it down. As long as the underlayer is to shape, then it'll serge together fine. It'll cut off the excess lace. Everything will be good. Let's get that going. Up and running and clean and quiet. It's nice. Ah. Sheer overlay or lace overlay, like this one. Neither of them are difficult, particularly. There are difficulties one can have with them if they're not laid out properly in the first place. If it's not completely flat, if they're not completely tied in. Materials don't mesh well, all these little things that could make things more difficult, but they're not necessarily, they're not a necessity. Difficulties are incidental, not automatic. So anybody can do this. It just takes a little bit of patience, a little bit of being careful. Following these curves. It's not necessarily difficult. It just takes a little bit of work. There. So let's see. This last seam done on the bottom. See what this looks like. Looks pretty good to me. Yeah, looks good to me. Do the other one and show you what it looks like. There's those two panels done. Looks pretty and flattened out and shiny. Let's lay out the whole thing here for a second and see what it's gonna look like on the bottom edge. The bottom edge is going to look good. Keep in mind all these serges are going to be hidden inside the seam. Okay. It's going to look pretty good. Okay, now that we got this all laid out, we know where the zipper is going to be. I did swap the zipper from the green to a blue, which will be easier. We know where all the panels are going to be. We know how it looks on the bottom edge. We know how it's going to look on the top edge. Well, let's see how it's going to look on the top edge. Going to look something like that on the top edge. So now that we know that, the next step, I'm going to take all of these pieces, trace them in chalk onto the lining material to get the other eight pieces I got to work with. And then I got to start piecing them together. This is all step by step, so you can't do the one step until I've done the step before it. So I can't start putting anything together until after I have all the pieces cut and serged. Show you what it looks like when that's done. Okay, there's the 8 pieces of the liner all laid out. So the bottom edge is going to look like. That's the center back where the lacing plate's going to go. Okay, and those are the 8 pieces of the shell. I think that's pretty good. Got a lot done. Hopefully a lot more will get done in the near future.